Welcome. It's another day of Bhagavad Gita Sadhana. It's great to see you. You're here. My number one fan, the cat, is here. And I'm just overjoyed. As usual, I'm Atmadarshan or Laura, whichever you prefer. In fact, you can call me pretty much anything because I've always said that what you call me says more about you than about me. So, however you'd like to address me, I address you with warmth and welcome. We are talking about ways to use spiritual principles, not necessarily religious principles, but spiritual principles in your life. And you can apply those spiritual principles to your religious beliefs, to your work, to your relationship. So many aspects can be covered by just a few concepts. And the biggest concept in the Bhagavad Gita is Samatvam, keeping yourself even keel, which comes from knowing who you are and being okay with that. Because if you know who you are and you're not okay with it, you'll find your behavior is more erratic. You'll be pulled by emotions, you'll be pulled by outer circumstances. And once you know and accept who you are, according to Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he's telling his best friend Arjuna, once you know who you are, life will change. Things will look different and you'll be calmer in yourself, which I think is important. We've been talking about the election here in the United States of America because it was a big event for many people, and many people have lost their calm before, during, and after. And that's the way it can be. Today, focusing on Samatvam in your life. What I've noticed is when any kind of perceived disaster hits, it could be a political disaster, a natural disaster, a family disaster, a personal disaster, one of the reactions I hear is, it wasn't supposed to be like this. This is not how it's supposed to be, especially if you put an if or because with that. It's not supposed to be like this because. I had a high school chemistry teacher who used to mix things together, and we'd all mix the same ingredients together, and we'd go that what was supposed to happen? Was that supposed to explode? Was it supposed to fizz? Was it supposed to turn color? And she would say, whatever happened is what was supposed to happen. And that's actually something that Krishna is saying, but in fancier rhyming, well, not rhyming, metrical, lyrical words in chapter 15, which is about the yoga of the ultimate reality. The yoga of the ultimate reality called Purusha. It can also be called the ultimate spirit. And the word in Sanskrit is Purushottama, and that ending, the Uttama, means highest or beyond or just ultimate, the ultimate, deepest part of you that makes you you. Everything else can go away, but that's you. So in verse 5 of chapter 15, here's what Krishna is saying to Arjuna, who is himself impacted by huge political, family, and personal disaster at the moment. It's like, what the heck do I do? I don't know what to do. And Krishna is calmly saying these words: free from pride and fancy, overcoming the fault of attachment, ever fixed in the self. Attractions gone, freed from pairs of ease and pain, the unconfused go to that eternal place. So we can look at this, we can apply this to an election, for example, because it's on people's minds here quite a bit. Free from pride and fancy, when we look at things like a country or a municipality that we're in, or a community we're part of, do we see really what's there? Or are we seeing it with pride and fancy that distorts our view and affects how we act within that purview? Overcoming the fault of attachment. The idea that when we do something, we do it for a specific outcome. And if that outcome doesn't happen, we get all, knickers in a twist. So, for example, what could I have done in this election? I personally read up on all the issues. I tried to do due diligence on candidates, figure out who I thought was best for my, not just for me, but for my community. And then I went in and voted, and that's all I can do. That's all I can do, right? So if it came out the way I wanted, great, I did what I can do. And if it didn't, I did what I could do. Ever fixed in the self. After such a thing, if it went my way, am I going to be like, "Sah," and just obnoxious or just too much? Am I going to let my pride and my head get big? If it came out not the way I wanted it, am I going to just get dejected and give up and say, the heck with all this? I mean, those indicate that we're not being our true self. So what I've been really trying to do is just be myself. Like, I'm not going to let outside circumstances determine who I am. I'm going to be who I am. And maybe for some of us, we feel that means we change where we live or stay to be who we are. And that's an action you can take. Be who you are and freed from pairs of ease and pain. For example, in this election, economy was a big issue. People looking at it as money making my life easier or less easy. And there's no doubt that money can make some things easy in your outer material world, but does it make it easier within? Some people I know who are quite wealthy, and they're quite wealthy people around Cleveland, live in these gated communities with fear and security guards. Is that good for them? It's an upside and downside of everything. So if what the Gita says is if you're making decisions based on whether it's going to make things easier for you instead of what is in line with your true self, that's your choice, but it's going to come back and you'll feel the results of that choice. Well, here's Krishna advising Arjun. And if you can do that, he says, you're unconfused. If you can do this, everything becomes clear. And another aspect I'll talk about is there are a lot of parallels between the Bhagavad Gita and another really famous yoga book in the West, Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which a lot of Westerners consider the book about yoga. I consider the Gita the book about yoga, but in my studies, they essentially say the same thing, just with a different approach and different words. And one of the things that's mentioned in the sutras is this concept of ishawara pranidhana. That, and I mentioned this yesterday, the ability to know what's really going on beside our own limited perspective, that there is something higher than us. It can be anything. It could be the oak tree. It could be a divine being. It could be a concept like truth, justice. And that whatever that is, that's got a different perspective than we do. And it's something we can put our trust in, our faith in, beyond our tiny little selves that seem to have sometimes no power. There's something out there that we can rely upon. And that reliance can also help us stay steady, whatever happens. All right. So, what's supposed to happen in our balance pose today? Let's find out. Will I stay upright? Will I wobble? Will I trip on an acorn? All right. Let's switch. time for our 5 minute contemplation. And I'm really using this verse because the cat is right there. And he so wants to come outside, and it pains me to see him inside with his separation anxiety going on. But I know that if my goal is to meditate and get into contact with my true self for the next 5 minutes, holding a squirming cat in my lap is just not going to cut it. So I invite you to contemplate this whole thought of whatever's happened, whatever's happening, it's supposed to happen. And if you're thinking, well, do I have any free will at all? That's what's coming up in the next couple chapters, is this idea of free will or fate. So you'll have to stay tuned. That's as it's supposed to be. 5 minutes. Welcome back. Wow. I don't know about you, but I was laughing because I was realizing all the supposed to be's I have in my head. Like it started raining. I'm like, it's not supposed to rain today. And the cat meowing. Cats aren't supposed to be that dependent. They're supposed to be a different way. And trash. The trash man's not supposed to be coming. I'm doing this. It's just astonishing. Wow. Well, I dedicate this practice to you just as you are, because however you are and whatever you think about that, you're just as you're supposed to be. And if we're supposed to see each other soon via video, I look forward to that. And please remember, we have a live healing meditation coming up just a couple days, Saturday morning. You're all welcome, 9 Eastern. Use the link below, go to workshops, find out more about it. All right. Until I'm supposed to see you again,